10 years from now, there are two of you, and only one of you can be read out loud on a bad Tuesday. One of you has $148,000 you can reach by lunchtime. The other one is worth more, $197,000, and can't touch almost any of it without selling the place he sleeps in. His name is Ben. Same age as you, same city, same year, same lumpy income, same first slow winter, same $40,000 a year that some months is $600 and some months is $1,500. You started a foot apart. He bought a house to stop throwing money away. You rented the same small apartment for 10 years on purpose. This is what 10 years of one housing decision looks like. When your income doesn't come on the 1st and the 15th like everyone else's. Not what you'd guess, not a story about who got rich, a story about who could breathe. And here's the part worth slowing down for, because everyone gets it backwards. By the numbers, Ben does almost everything right. It's the calendar that breaks him, not the house. It starts on a Saturday in late August, in a 400-square-foot one-bedroom off the 3rd exit with a leasing folder and a pen that isn't yours. You're 26. You've got $62,400 saved, the most you've ever had, and a rent of $1,420 a month for a place with a radiator that knocks twice before it warms up. The money took 4 years of good months covering bad months to build. It is, in every direction, the proof you made it out of the hole. And here is the choice everyone you know is making this year. That $62,000 is exactly 20% of a $312,000 house to the dollar. You did not plan that. It just lines up the way these things line up to make the decision feel already made. Buy, and the payment is $1,760 a month, plus $390 in property tax, plus $120 in insurance. $2,270 every month on a day the bank picks, not a day your clients pick. Rent, and it's $1,420 on a day you can sometimes call about. The difference is $850 a month. Everyone tells you the $850 you'd save by renting is the dumb money, the money you set on fire. The money that builds the landlord's house and never yours. But sit with the $850 for a second, because that's the whole decision hiding in plain sight. Your income is a jagged line. $5,100 in March, $1,500 in April, $4,200 in May. The first half of July, nothing at all. Clients on vacation. Invoices stuck on someone's desk in a building you've never seen. A mortgage payment doesn't care that it's July. It arrives on the same day in the empty months as in the fat ones. It is a fixed promise pointed at an income that refuses to be fixed. That's the part the barbecue math never includes. The question isn't only how much the house costs, it's whether your worst month can pay for it. A salaried person can answer yes without thinking. You have to answer it 12 times a year, and 4 of those times the honest answer is no. You can either set a fixed payment against an unfixed income and pray the timing lines up, or you can keep the cheaper payment you can sometimes call about and keep the difference where your hand can reach it. You pick the second thing, not because you're smart, because you've already had the kind of July that teaches it. There was a July 2 summers before this one. A $58 electric bill that sat unpaid for 9 days, not because the money wasn't yours, but because it was 3 weeks out in some stranger's accounts payable folder, and the only thing your hand could actually reach was $41 and a coffee can of coins you ended up counting on the kitchen floor at midnight. You weren't broke that night. You were just locked out of your own money. The coffee can is the whole reason you keep the difference where your hand can reach it. Ben sits across from you with the same 62,000 and a face you recognize, because it's your face from a different week, the face of someone tired of feeling temporary. He says the thing everyone says. Rent is throwing money away. At least mine builds something. He's not wrong. That's what makes it hard. He signs the back page. The rates on the front page. Nobody buying their first home reads the front page. They read the relief. This is the part worth slowing down for. You don't decide to be poorer than Ben that day. You decide something quieter, and you can barely say it out loud yet, that for money that comes in waves, what you can reach beats what you own. You keep the 62,000 where your hand can find it. You sign a lease instead of a deed. You stay able to leave. If your money comes in waves like that, 5,000 one month, 1,500 the next, a calendar nobody else seems to be living on, then subscribe and stay close. These are the quiet stories I tell here. And we'll keep doing the math the barbecue never does. You sign for 1 year. You check the box that says no pets, and you sit on that one a second because you'd wanted a dog since you were 19, and a dog needs a yard, and a yard needs a deed. You sign anyway. By the end of year 1, the scoreboard already looks like you lost. You, 61,000 liquid, parked in a boring index fund and a cash cushion. Ben, 63,500 in equity, already more than you. The house already worth a little more than he paid. He texts a photo of the porch. You send back the hands up emoji and mean it. The lease renews. You sign for 1 more year. Year 2, the group chat starts closing on houses. One, then another, then a third in 18 months. Sold signs. Keys held up to the camera like medals. The chat fills with the specific joy of people who just signed 30 years of their life to a bank and have never felt freer. You type "so happy for you" 3 separate times that year, and you mean it every time. You don't mention that the same week the third one closed. You re-signed your lease. 1,490 now. The radiator still knocking twice. Renewing a lease doesn't come with confetti. Nobody posts the day they decided to stay flexible. There's no emoji for "I kept my money where I can reach it." And the chat has a position on you, gently, the way friends do. Someone posts the meme, the one that says renting is just paying someone else's mortgage. And it gets 41 likes, and one of them is from a guy who closed last spring and you genuinely hope it works out for. You don't argue. You've learned there's no winning the argument, because the argument is built to have one answer. At least I own something. It's a good line. It's true. It just isn't the only true thing, and the other true thing, that you can be at the airport tomorrow, that no roof is yours to replace, that your worst month can't take your house because you don't have one to take. Doesn't fit on a meme, so it doesn't get said. The flexible choice is the one that never gets a victory post. Ben throws a housewarming. You go. It's a good night. People walk his rooms holding coffee and saying equity like it's a place you can drive to. And here's the thing you don't expect. You love it there. He painted the back wall a deep forest green, a color he picked, a color he's allowed to pick, and you stand in front of it longer than is normal. You go home to walls the color the landlord chose. Renter's beige, a color with no name and no opinion. You think about the green wall, the whole drive. This is the cost, and you are honest with yourself about it tonight. You can't paint. You can't plant. You can't drill a shelf without photographing the wall first, so you get your deposit back. Ben can knock down a wall if he hates it. You can't hang a heavy mirror without a debate. He's building something with his name on the paper. You're building a number with nobody's name on it. Ben's equity ticks to 72,000. Yours, reachable, 68.4. He is ahead. He should be. The board says he's winning, and tonight you don't argue with the board. Then, a week later, a brown ring blooms on your bedroom ceiling. Water from the unit above. You photograph it. You email the landlord at 11 p.m. with 2 lines and a shrug. A man you've never met sends a man you've never met, and it's fixed by Thursday, and it costs you exactly $0 and 1 slightly weird-smelling week. It's not your roof. The lease renews. You sign for 1 more year. Year 3 is the year people start telling you the number. It always comes at a backyard cookout from someone holding a can of soda, and it always comes as a kindness. You know what you've paid in rent by now? Like 50 grand, gone. You could have owned a third of a house with that. And he's right. You have paid about $53,000 to live somewhere you'll never own. Say it plainly, because it's true. That money is gone the way a hotel is gone. No equity, no asset, a receipt and a roof. When people say renting is throwing money away, this is the throw they mean, and you are not going to pretend the 53,000 isn't real. But here's the part nobody at the barbecue does the math on. Ben paid that same 53,000 in interest and tax and insurance over the same 3 years. The part of his payment that also bought him nothing, that also went to the bank and the county and the insurer and not into the walls. Owning has its own rent. It's just called other words. Nobody at the barbecue subtracts it, so you don't either. You say, yeah, you're probably right, and you let the man feel helpful because he is being kind, and the kindness is aimed at a problem you decided to have. Pull up Ben's mortgage statement from that same year, and the number is almost funny. Of his $1,760 payment, $340 goes to principal, the part he keeps. The other $1,420 goes to interest, $1,420 a month, evaporating into a bank, building nothing he owns, which is, to the dollar, what you pay in rent. In the early years of a mortgage, the homeowner is renting his money from the bank at almost exactly what the renter pays for the apartment, and then paying the roof and the tax and the insurance on top. The throwing money away line is true. It's just that almost everybody's doing it. Some of them are just also responsible for the gutters. Ben's there too. Quieter than at the housewarming. He mentions, the way you mention weather you don't want to talk about, that the county reassessed his house. The tax went from $390 a month to $460. The insurance renewed at $175, up from $120. Nobody raised his rate. The world just did it to him. It's fine, he says. It's still cheaper than renting. He's doing the barbecue math on himself now too, and the board agrees with him. His equity is $88,000 now. The house appreciated. The market's been good. Every dollar of principal he pays moves it up. Yours is 74 too. He's pulling away. If the video ended here, you'd be the cautionary tale and Ben would be the guy who was right. Most people you know would stop watching here and feel correct. That winter, your dishwasher dies in the middle of a cycle and leaks across the floor at midnight. You mop it with the one good towel. You photograph it. You email it. A new one shows up the following Tuesday, and you didn't choose it, and you didn't pay for it, and you'll never think about it again. It's not your roof. The lease renews. You sign for one more year. Year 4, the rents spike. Not just yours, the whole city's. Your renewal letter says $1,690, up $200 in one signature. This is the renter's nightmare made real, and you're going to be honest about this one too. You have no lock. Ben's payment is fixed for 30 years. Yours can do this to you any August it wants. He bet against the future raising his rate, and on this exact bet, he won. His housing cost is frozen. Yours just thawed and rose. You do the math at the counter at midnight. Even at $1,690, you're still paying less per month than Ben's $2,300 and change all in. Barely. The gap that used to be $850 is down to about $600. The argument for renting gets thinner every year the rent climbs, and you write that down honestly in the same notebook where you track the buffer, because the day you stop telling yourself the truth about this is the day you start losing on purpose, and you keep both columns honest, because a story you only tell one way is a story you'll get wrong. What renting costs you, the rising rent, the no equity, the no lock, the no paint, the dog you still don't have. What it buys you, the $600 a month that lands in the buffer instead of the bank's pocket, the 30 days notice door, the worst month that can't take your home because no one can take a home you never bought. You can hold both. Most people can't, which is why most people only have one column and think the other one doesn't exist. The rent spiking is a real loss. You log it. You don't pretend it away. You also don't pretend it changes the calendar your income still runs on. You're at Ben's on a Sunday, and you see the thing the spreadsheet will never have a column for. His daughter, Taya, 4 years old, standing very straight against the kitchen doorframe with her chin up while Ben draws a pencil line over her head and writes the date. There are 6 lines on that frame now. 6 dates. A little ladder of a kid growing up in a place that isn't going anywhere. You think about your door frame. It gets repainted between tenants. It has to be blank when you leave, or you lose the deposit. Nobody's height is allowed to stay on your walls. If you had a kid, their growing up would have to be portable, photographed, packed in a box that says frame. That's the real cost of what you chose, and it isn't a number, and you feel it in your chest standing in Ben's kitchen, holding a paper plate. He has something you traded away. He has here. He gets to be from somewhere. And there's a dog under Ben's table, a big slow one, asleep on the cool floor. A dog that belongs to a yard, that belongs to a deed. You've wanted a dog since you were 19. Your lease has a box you check every year that says no. The dog is the dog you don't have, the same way the green wall is the wall you can't paint, and the door frame is the childhood you couldn't keep. These are not small things. A life is mostly made of exactly these things. The dog, the wall, the marks on the frame. Nobody should tell you they don't matter. They matter. You traded them for a different thing, and on most days the different thing is invisible, and on the days it isn't. It's everything. But standing in this kitchen on this Sunday with this dog breathing at your feet, it's hard to feel like the one who chose right. So you don't. You just feel it, honestly, and you drive home. Don't let anyone tell you renting is free. It costs you the green wall and the door frame and the dog and the deed. It costs you the right to say, "This is mine," to a thing that holds still. That's a real price, and you paid it every single year, on purpose, with your eyes open. And the board tonight is brutal. Ben's equity has crossed 120,000. Yours, reachable, 92.5. He is winning by almost $30,000 and a doorframe full of pencil lines. You drive home past the exit you'd take if you owned anything, and you don't take it because you don't. The lease renews. You sign for 1 more year. Year 6, Ben gets the call you never get. The roof, not a leak you email about. The roof. A contractor stands in his living room and says the word replacement and writes a number in a box. $8,400. No landlord to forward it to. No, it's fixed by Thursday. Just a man in his house and a number and a clock that says 60 days. This is the part worth slowing down for, because it's the whole episode in one kitchen. Ben is worth $132,000 that afternoon, on paper, and he has $2,100 he can actually touch. The roof costs 4 times the money he can reach and a fraction of the money he owns. He is a wealthy man who can't pay for his own roof because his wealth is the roof. He can't sell a bedroom. He can't pull $8,000 out of the walls without a loan that takes weeks he doesn't have. So he does the thing equity-rich, cash-poor people do. He puts the roof on 2 credit cards. A third of it lands at 24%. His net worth on the board barely moves. The roof was always going to be the roof, but his life just got heavier in a way the board will never show you. The interest starts the next morning. The doorframe lines don't know. And here's the thing about equity that nobody says out loud at the housewarming. Equity is not money. Equity is a number that becomes money only if you sell the place you sleep or borrow against it from a bank that takes weeks and a credit check to say yes. Until then, it's a photograph of money. Ben has $132,000 in photographs and a roof he has to pay for in cash. The asset he was so proud of is the exact thing generating the bill, and it can't be the thing that pays it. A house is the only investment that mails you invoices. The roof gets done. It looks exactly like the old roof. That's the cruelest part. $8,400, and the house looks identical from the street. No new room, no higher value, really. A roof is just the price of the house not getting worse. He didn't buy an upgrade. He bought the right to keep what he already had. He stands on the porch and looks up at shingles that cost him a third of a year's living expenses and look like nothing at all. And you can see him doing a kind of math he didn't used to do. That same month, and this is almost unfair, but it's how it actually goes, your water heater dies. You get 1 cold shower and a slightly annoyed morning. You photograph it. You email it. Someone you'll never meet replaces an $800 appliance, and it costs you a chilly Tuesday and nothing else. It's not your roof. It has never once been your roof. The board still says Ben's ahead, 132 to 103. But for the first time, there's a second number under his, in red, and it's growing on its own in the dark while he sleeps. Yours has no red number. Yours never has. The lease renews. You sign for 1 more year. Year 7 is the year the calendar comes to collect. And it comes for Ben, not for you. His biggest client, the one whose retainer he quietly built his whole month around, goes quiet on a $12,000 invoice. Day 30, day 45, day 60. The read receipts stop. Then the company restructures and the contact he had simply isn't there anymore. And the $12,000 becomes the kind of money you spend a year's worth of polite emails learning you will never see. This is the moment the whole 10 years was actually about. Ben misses a mortgage payment. Then he misses a second one, not because he's careless, because the money he was owed didn't come, and the day the bank picks came anyway, twice, $2,300 each on a checking account holding a fraction of that. He calls the bank. He uses words like hardship and forbearance he never thought he'd say about a house he was so proud to buy. A late fee, a second late fee, a 60-day mark that lands on his credit like a bruise that takes years to fade. He calls you at night. The air's gone out of his voice. He says the sentence that is the entire thesis of everything, and he says it like a man who can't believe it's true. I've got almost 200 grand in this house, and I couldn't make a $2,300 payment. How does that make any sense? You don't answer with a lesson. You just stay on the phone. This is what people get wrong about owning a home on a freelancer's income. They picture the danger as a big disaster, a fire, a crash, a job loss. It's never that. It's timing. The invoice was net 30. The mortgage was due on the 1st. The client paid on day, never. $12,000 he had earned. That legally belonged to him, that he could see in his own sent mail folder. And none of it could be in the bank by the 1st, twice in a row. And the bank does not accept, but they owe me as a payment. He wasn't broke. He was illiquid at exactly the wrong moment, which for a fixed monthly obligation is the same thing as broke. The house didn't care he was owed. The house only knows the 1st of the month. The whole time, the $200,000 sat in the walls, perfectly safe, perfectly useless. He could have lit a candle in every room and the equity would not have come downstairs to pay the mortgage. That's the trap nobody draws you a picture of. The richer the house makes you, the more of your money lives somewhere your worst month can't get to it. Because here's what the same month does to you. Your income dips the same way his did. A client pauses, an invoice ages, the account gets thin, and nothing happens. Rent clears, the lights stay on. You don't call anyone using the word hardship. You don't take the panic job at half your rate. You dip into the buffer, the reachable money, the money that was never a wall and a roof, and you cover 4 months without a sweat, and you put most of it back when the next good invoice lands. Ben had more money than you that month. He had $90,000 more than you, sitting in the walls of a house he was about to miss a payment on. You had less. You had it where your hand could reach it. For money that comes in waves, that turned out to be the whole game. The board still says Ben is worth more. 150 in equity to your 99.8, and yours even dipped this year because you used it. That's what it was for. He's still ahead on the only number the barbecue ever counts. He's just spent the year underwater on the only number a Tuesday counts. The lease renews. You sign for 1 more year. Year 8, the email comes. A studio in another city. The kind of room that doesn't email people like you, except this time it did. 6 months, on-site, $48,000, and one condition. You have to be there in 30 days, and you have to be local. The kind of door that opens once and closes if you take too long deciding. You read your lease. 30 days notice. That's it. That's the whole barrier between you and the door. You give notice on a Tuesday, you put the index fund where it stays, you pack the apartment into the same boxes it came in, and one of them, you notice this, is labeled frame, and it's empty because you never had a door frame to bring. You go. Here's the part you don't gloat about, because there's nothing to gloat about. Ben got the same email. They wanted 2 people. He sat in his kitchen by the door frame with the 7 pencil lines, and he did the math out loud to himself. To take it, he'd have to sell the house in 30 days, in a soft market, eating realtor fees and the credit bruise still healing. or rent it out to strangers and become a long-distance landlord on an income that already couldn't absorb a missed payment. The house he bought to feel secure had become the thing he couldn't move for. He turned it down. He wasn't wrong to. He just wasn't able to say yes, and saying yes was the whole opportunity. The $48,000 isn't even the point. The studio becomes a relationship. The relationship lifts your day rate by a third and never lowers it again. The opportunity you could only take because you rented becomes the income that compounds for the rest of the decade. Liquidity is just the ability to say yes on a Tuesday. You said yes. Here's the math nobody runs on mobility because it doesn't show up on either scoreboard. Saying yes cost you a $900 moving truck and a weekend of boxes. For Ben to say yes, it would have cost him 6% to a realtor, closing costs on both ends, and a forced sale into a market that wasn't ready. Call it $25,000 to unlock a door you walked through for $900. His house didn't just keep him from leaving. It put a price on every door, and the price was always more than the door was worth in a hurry. You will never see that cost on a statement. It's the opportunities that quietly root around the people who can't move fast, and they never know which emails they didn't get because everyone already knew they were planted. And then, so this never tips into a fairy tale, while you're gone, you get the text every renter dreads. Your old building sold. The new owner isn't renewing. Even if you'd stayed, you'd have been packing boxes by spring. Not on your schedule, on a stranger's. This is the other side of the deed you don't have. Ben's house can't fire him. Yours can. The same flexibility that let you leave for the opportunity is the impermanence that could have thrown you out with 60 days' notice. You don't get the upside without the open door swinging both ways. You know this. You chose it anyway. The board, Ben, $168,000. The market still kind to him. You, $121. He's still ahead by $47,000. He always has been. You stopped checking whether you were winning a while ago. You started checking whether you could breathe. You could. The lease renews. A new one. A new city. You sign for one more year. Years 9 and 10 are quiet, and quiet is the reward. The higher rate holds. The buffer refills past the dip, past where it started, past 130, past 140. The boring index fund does the boring thing it's done the whole time, which is exist and grow while you don't touch it. You move once more, on your own schedule this time. New beige walls, still can't paint them. You've made your peace with beige, and Ben is okay. This matters. He is not the cautionary tale, and the day this turns into renting beats buying is the day it stops being true. His house crossed $197,000 in equity because the market was genuinely good to the years he held it. He refinanced the roof off the cards. The credit bruise faded. Taya's doorframe has 10 pencil lines now, and he wouldn't trade a single one of them for any number on your side of the board. By the only measure the barbecue ever cared about, net worth, Ben won. Say it clearly. Ben is worth $50,000 more than you, and he has a home, and you don't. Look at the two lines for the whole decade, and you can see the trade drawn out. Ben's line is gorgeous. A steady climb, barely a dip. The kind of line a financial advisor frames on a wall. Yours is lower and bumpier. It sags in the dry months and recovers in the fat ones. A line that breathes. Here's what the pretty line doesn't tell you. A smooth line is only safe if your income is smooth, because a fixed climb demands a fixed feed. Ben's beautiful equity line required 12 on-time payments a year for 10 years. 120 straight months of an income that does not run in straight months. He made it through, but he made it through by the skin of 2 missed payments and an $8,400 roof on a credit card. The bumpy line was never trying to be beautiful. It was trying to survive the bumps. On a jagged income, the line that bends is the line that lasts. So here are the two of you at 36, side by side, and the honest scoreboard refuses to crown anybody. Ben, $197,000, and a door frame and a green wall, and $2,300 he can reach. You, $148,000, all of it reachable by lunch, and no wall you're allowed to paint. He owns more. You can reach more. Neither of those is winning. They're just two different answers to the same question. What is your money supposed to be able to do on the worst Tuesday of the year? For income that arrives on the 1st and the 15th, maybe the answer is the doorframe. For money that comes in waves, $5,000 one month, $1,500 the next. What you can reach beats what you own. Not always, not for everyone. Just for the calendar you actually have. The lease renews. You sign for 1 more year. So we're back where we started. The two numbers side by side. 148,000 you can touch. 197,000 he can't. You know the whole story behind them now. They're not a verdict. They're just two people who answered the same question with the lives they actually had. Ben comes over on a Saturday. Your rented kitchen, the beige you didn't choose, 2 coffees in mismatched mugs because you never bought the matching set. He's got a folder. He wants to know how you do the buffer thing, the reachable money, the months you can cover without selling anything. He says it without any shame, which is the bravest thing you've watched him do in 10 years. I want to keep the house. I just don't ever want a Tuesday like that again. You don't say you saw it coming, though everyone watching both of you could see it coming, except the two of you for opposite reasons. You don't tell him he was wrong to buy. He wasn't. You help him carve out the first reachable 1,000, then the first reachable month, against the next time the calendar comes to collect. You let the coffee go cold. You let the silence do the part that words would only cheapen. He says the thing it took him 10 years and 1 terrible Tuesday to be able to say. I thought buying meant I'd made it, like I'd finished something. He turns the mug. Nobody told me the house doesn't care what month my money shows up. I kept thinking the problem was me. The problem was that I built a fixed thing on top of an income that was never going to be fixed. You don't add anything to that. He got there himself, which is the only way anyone ever gets there. You just slide the notebook across, the 2-column one, the one where you keep both kinds of cost honest, and you start a new page with his name on it. The first number he writes is 0. Reachable, 0. It's not a sad number. It's a starting line, the same one you stood on at 26, except he's standing on it with a house and a daughter and 10 pencil lines on a door frame, and that's not behind. That's just a different shape of the same beginning. He's going to be fine. He was always going to be fine. He just spent 10 years learning the one thing the barbecue never taught either of you, that the question was never whether to own. It was what your money has to be able to do on the day you didn't see coming. And out the window, across the parking lot, there's a moving truck. A kid, 25, carrying a folding chair into a first apartment with the specific pride of someone who just got out of their parents' place. The neighbors already walking over, coffee in hand, the universal posture of a man about to do someone a kindness. You know exactly what he's going to say. He's going to say, "You're not going to rent forever, are you? That's just throwing money away. You should really think about buying." And the kid nods, polite, already doing the math. The rent math, the only math anyone hands him. The math with no roof in it and no calendar in it and no Tuesday in it. He doesn't know yet that there are two right answers. And the right one depends on a question nobody at the barbecue ever asks him. Does your money come on the 1st and the 15th, or does it come in waves? Because for money that comes in waves, what you can reach beats what you own. And nobody is going to tell him that while there's a coffee in their hand and a sold sign in their yard. You don't go down to fix it. It's not yours to fix. Some of them should buy. Some of them shouldn't. The only thing you'd want the kid to know, the only thing this whole decade taught you, is that throwing money away was never the real question. The real question was whether, on the worst month of the year, your money would be a wall you live in or a thing you can reach. So before you ever sign anything, the lease or the deed, that's the only question that was ever actually yours to answer. What does your money need to be able